And welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning, visiting with Joel Daniel Harris, who is, I love this title, the executive dreamer of Todd Ideas. Good morning, Joel.
Good morning.
Very interesting concept that you came up with. Let's go to the beginnings of Todd Ideas. First of all, what does Todd? It's not two guys.
No,
There's
it's
no
not.
Tom and no Todd involved. Tell us a bit about the name and the beginnings of Todd Ideas.
Yeah, so the name Tom Todd stands for Tomorrow Today, and we work with middle school students, and we tell them that they don't have to wait till someday down the road until they get into high school, college, into their jobs to actually make a difference, but that we believe that middle school students have the power and ability and imagination to take action starting today.
Now, why did you zero in on middle school exactly?
Well, I was a middle school youth pastor for 8 years at two local larger churches and had an opportunity to just hang out with middle school students a lot. And I heard their passion and their ideas and saw their imaginations just cook up crazy things. But oftentimes they didn't have anywhere to go with them. They weren't quite sure what to do next. And so I started wondering what would it look like to create a launch pad, if you will, for the ideas of middle school students, to create some space where they could really bring their ideas and try them out, see what works, see what doesn't, see what sticks, and try and put those passions and the great sort of vision that they have for their communities into action.
Middle school has got to be one of the most difficult ages to be,
Yeah.
and also one of the most difficult ages to be around, if we're going to just get it out there and be frank. So I think there's a special crown in heaven for someone like you who is called to work with this age group. But what was it about, like you say, crazy ideas? Give us some examples. What were some of these things they were saying that you thought, hey, somebody really ought to try that? That's so crazy, it just might work.
Yeah, so the way that Tom Todd really got started was from a student, Leah Bailey, who approached me with an idea that she had about cardboard boxes and having a bunch of people, as many people as she could figure out how to make it work, sleep outside for a night in cardboard boxes and use it as a chance to raise awareness and to educate people about homelessness and poverty issues and to raise money for Refuge of Hope.
Wow.
And so the problem was that I was an adult, and sometimes adults are wonderful. And sometimes we're not really good at listening to other people, especially middle school students.
12-year-old.
And so I listened to her idea, and then I was like, oh, that's really great. I have a real similar idea. It wasn't similar at all. So why don't you do my idea? And she said, no, I brought my idea because it's the one I want to do.
If I wanted your idea, I would have asked you.
So after a few fits and starts, I finally got over myself, if you will, and was willing to listen to this. She had so much passion and willingness to learn and to research and to explore. And so I brought her to some other adults and helped her pitch her idea to them. And we created a mentoring team, and she recruited a peer team. And then in August of 2011, a year before Tom Todd officially started, there was just over 50 folks that slept outside in cardboard boxes on a miserable August night. Heavy fog, and it was just terrible and wonderful. And and they raised over $5,000 that night.
Amazing.
All led by this 8th grade student.
I remember this. This became a really big thing. How many people did you say slept out?
There was about 50 people
That's
on
amazing.
that night. And it was just and to me, there was something there. I said, Leah is both exceptional and I think absolutely ordinary in the sense of she was exceptional in her boldness, but ordinary in that I believe that middle school students have these sorts of ideas, have these sorts of abilities, but the challenge and the problem is that most of us are like me and that we're hesitant to listen to a middle schooler. We still kind of think of them more as little kids.
Yes.
Instead of seeing that maybe they have some brilliant intuition that comes from a totally different angle. I mean, who else thinks of things like that? Or we've had students do things like water walks and invent bike sharing systems and tackle issues everywhere from food food injustice to media literacy to everything in between. I mean, they have such a passion, like excitement for learning. It's just directed in the right ways.
But they really are, as you say, on the cusp. They are still children one moment, but thinking very adult-like, very profoundly another moment. So this happened, and it could have so easily ended there. And what a neat experience for her, what a neat awakening for you, but it didn't end there. What happened after that?
And so after that, I started really thinking there's something here. You know, it was such a success in both the project itself, but then also the community was inspired by it. And people respond when we see students in action. It really, I think, gets to a space in our hearts and allows us to think about things in different ways. And so I started to wonder what it would look like to create a space for middle school students to actually bring their ideas, and we would help connect them to the wisdom, resources, and experiences of adults and put it all into motion. So in August of 2012, I left my job and became the executive dreamer of Tom Todd, because when you're all alone, you got to make a fancy title to make yourself feel better.
It's a great title.
And so since then, in the last 3 years, we've added a staff member. We've seen this fall we're in 3 different schools working with over 240 middle school students. This past summer, we ran our 3rd successful summer camp, week-long day camp in the city. And we just wrapped up our open application period for the same sort of concept that Leah initially kicked us off. We now call that What If You Could? And middle school students from anywhere in Stark County have the chance to apply to us. And so we just wrapped them up today. After I'm done, I'm going to go look at those applications and see what ideas we're going to launch next.
We need to talk more about the process, because it's an amazing idea, but to turn it into something that would become your full-time job and an actual nonprofit organization that's really creating quite a bit of buzz in the community. Yes. How do you get from this point to that point?
That's a great question, and I wish I knew a bit more of how we made it work. But
somehow you did.
It's been a wild ride. I left my job and got engaged in the same month, because that just seems, like a logical thing to do.
What a smart thing to do. And how do you tell your betrothed, oh, by the way, I'm going to form this organization where middle school children tell us what to do.
Right.
And I'm sure her parents were so delighted.
They are delightful. So Joy has been a great support to me, and we have a almost 10-month-old daughter, and it's been a great journey as we've been exploring what it means to be a family together, simultaneously exploring what it means to really give back to our community and invest in these students who both, Tom Todd's really a both and. It's a right now, we're investing in these students and we're helping them see their ideas take action and take flight. And it's training them strategically for when they get into high school and into college and into their careers, that they will be more imaginative and ready to engage imagination in their thinking and more innovative, that they will think about their neighbor more, about the common good. All of our programming centers on this concept of the common good and how do we live in community and care for the people in our community, whether they're right next door or they're on the other side of the planet.
And the least of these.
Yes, absolutely. So we think if we could engage middle school students when they're this really formative space right now, then it'll be naturally the ways that they approach life as they get into high school and beyond.
Where does your funding come from?
We are a 501c3 and registered in the state of Ohio and nationally, and we have funding from individuals. We have a faithful group of folks that support us on a monthly and quarterly basis. We do an annual fundraiser called the Feast of Ideas, and think of like black tie gala event, except that the stories of middle school students, and we bring the students in, are the center of the whole celebration. It's
fun.
Oh, it's a blast of a night. And we do get some grant money from different grants that we have written or in the process of writing. So really anywhere that we can track it down. But it's our commitment that we really want to invest in middle school students. And we think it's a powerful, worthwhile investment to make in terms of putting our money and our time and our resources, sort of making it available to them to then see what can take place.
You have a board, I know that's very active. It's a hands-on board. You want to give a shout out to them, maybe talk about who's on that and what they contribute to all of this.
Yeah, we've had a great board from day one. Kelly Johnson was our first board president and really helped usher us into existence. And then she's moved on she runs her another nonprofit now currently. And then Dave Smith and Ryan Hollingsworth have both been from early on. Dave is a pastor of one of Willow Creek's branches up in Chicago. Ryan is with Grabowski and Company. We have, in the past few years, had Gene McFerrin from the Stark County District Library join us, and Chip Weisel is our current board president from Hartville Health and Wellness. Hillary Gehrig is with First Energy and is our board treasurer. And Katie Cerrone Arnold just joined us. She's a University of Akron math professor and doctorate in education and bringing some great expertise that way. And then Scott Meyer, as well, has been on our board. He's a startup specialist and really helps us think about how do we embrace startup mentality in our own ways and then also pass it on to students so that they are ready to take their ideas, put them into motion, and then keep on creating and keep on innovating.
We're talking to Joel Daniel Harris. He is the executive dreamer and founder and the idea inspiration behind Todd Ideas. And there's got to be, first of all, let's get a website so people can go find out more.
Yeah, you can find us online. It's www.tomtoddideas. That's TOMTODIDEAS.org. And because, again, Tom Todd is short for Tomorrow Today. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. All of our handles are Tom Todd Ideas.
What kinds of volunteer opportunities might be available? Because I wouldn't imagine that this is a one-man show.
Absolutely
This would take
not.
a lot of people working with the middle school students to be able to bring their ideas to fruition.
Yeah, so we have several different volunteer approaches. One is we have people that work directly with students through our in-school programming, through our summer camp, through What If You Could, the sort of idea launch process. And so it can be anywhere from offering particular expertise on a particular idea or topic to walking with students through what it takes to put their idea into motion. So a lot of mentoring sorts of opportunities in that realm. We also have behind-the-scenes things that need to be done. I mean, there's just an incredible amount of logistical stuff that has to be taken care of every day, every week, every month. And so we're always looking for folks that are willing to come in and do the not quite so fun, but just as important, behind-the-scenes piece. Mm-hmm. And so really, those are the two primaries, sort of front lines with students and then behind the scenes logistical pieces. But each one of our programs has different frontline opportunities.
And there's a way for people to reach you through the website if they're interested in volunteering or donating?
Yes, there's a form for volunteers on the website that you can fill out with your passions, interests, skills. And then there's also absolutely a donation page where you can make a one-time donation. You can join our monthly donation team or quarterly. That's all listed there.
Perfect. Joel Harris is the executive dreamer at Tom Todd Ideas. We're going to have to take a break here in a few seconds, but really want to talk to you about what some of these ideas have been, and then particularly maybe some that you're working on right now that we might be able to get involved with. I'm assuming you'll take people to get involved at any point?
Yeah, we have all sorts of ways to get middle school students on board and get their ideas in motion.
Awesome. While we take this break, check out this website, tomtoddideas.org. Yep. And we're going to be back in just a few minutes for The Light 95.9 WNPQ. I'm Susie Thomas. You're listening to Our Community.